If you are looking for convertible car seats, in this video, I'm going to be going over 5. We're going to be hitting 4 rotating seats and 1 standard non-rotating car seat. I'm Jamie Grayson. I'm a child passenger safety technician, and I have taken over the Magic Beans YouTube channel, for those of you wondering who I am. In this video, we're going to be going over the Baby Jogger City Turn, the Evenflo REO, the Graco Easy Turn 360, the Joie Chili Spin SI, and the Romer Veni. I'm going to be showing you how these install rear and forward facing. Some of them you actually only install once, which is excellent. Going to show you a couple different installation features they have, things I like about them, talk about weight and height limits. I also did y'all a solid and I measured depth. And just to be very clear, when you're looking at car seat depth, and this is only really in rear facing, this is always kind of an estimate because every automobile is built a little differently and every car seat will fit into it differently. So when I tell you the depth of the car seats, that's really an estimate. It can vary 1 to 2 inches on either side based on your vehicle. So we're going to get going. Again, we have 5 of these. You can also enter to win one of these car seats. We're giving away 19 car seats as part of the Showdown series. And we're going to start with the Baby Jogger City Turn. Now, the City Turn is not a car seat that does a full revolution. It's not a revolving car seat, it's a rotating car seat. So it only rotates when your child is rear facing. Some people like that and don't mind it. Some people want a car seat to revolve and forward facing. You have to decide what you prefer. A couple things I love about this seat, and this is her right here. It is one of the only revolving or rotating seats that has a 50-pound rear-facing limit. It's a really excellent seat. The install is really, really solid, and I just think it looks nice. So unlike some of the other seats you're going to see later in the video where you basically have almost like a one install situation, kind of, this you have to pull a foot out here on the bottom, and you flip this into rear facing mode. And everything is very well color coded on this seat. You've got like blue, you've got like an orange situation, and it's just an excellent seat. Now, we're going to install this in a minute, but just to give you all a sense of the rotation, it's here on the bottom by where the baby's feet would be. It swings here towards you, buckle your baby in, flips it back towards the back. Now, let's just talk about rotating seats. A couple things in general. Rotating seats are totally fine. Why do we like them? Because obviously, if you have a bigger kid and you're trying to get them in this way, some people find it difficult or damn near impossible to properly harness a child in a rear-facing seat like this. So by having the ability to have it face you, buckle the kid up, harness correctly, and then spin it backwards, it's going to be easier, and it's going to allow you to help, hopefully, keep your child rear facing longer. Also, when you are in motion in your vehicle, even if this car seat is empty, revolving car seats must be locked into rear facing or forward facing when your car is in motion. That is one of the things that the internet has kind of blown up over, is that revolving car seats are not safe. That is factually inaccurate. So just make sure it's locked into position. Now, when we are looking at this particular seat, let me just pull this up for you so you can see it. You will notice, and this is very awkward, right here, this is the lock-off mechanism, and the belt path is not, there's like a little groove right here where your bubble indicator is. That is not where your seatbelt goes. That is the track for the car seat itself. So even when I first got this out and was trying to play with it, I tried to put the seatbelt through this groove. That's not it. The belt path is that blue path marked with blue plastic down here, okay? So when we are installing this, you want to make sure it is at the proper angle for your vehicle and the weight of your child. We're pretty good here. And you open up the lock off. Now, one of the things that I will say, and I've said this in previous videos, when you are placing your seatbelt through the belt path, some car seats, it is easier if you keep the seatbelt all together. Some it's easier if you just kind of, do the lap belt first and then pull the shoulder belt with it. This, I find it easier to do them one on top of the other. So you basically thread that through. There's a nice little groove. You make sure there's no folds or twists in your seatbelt. That's locked. That is a rock solid install. And then you will spin this rear facing. So again, it only rotates in rear facing mode. Rear facing, this goes to 4 to 50 pounds or 1 inch here, the baby's head, below the top of the adjustment handle. And every car seat will be a little bit different when it comes to where that 1 inch mark is. Sometimes it's the adjustment handle, sometimes it's the top of the shell. Sometimes there is no 1 inch rule, but that is not very common. The weight of this car seat is right around 28 pounds, and the depth of the seat, rear facing, is 31-ish inches. So it's not a super long car seat. It's not like super compact, but it's not like one of the longest. And I just find it very, very satisfying. As you can see, like, that's rock solid. You would get your baby in there, harness them up, and boom, you're good to go. The install on this is terrific. And with this one, you don't have to lock the seatbelt, which is nice. It is also 19 inches wide. So I wouldn't say it's like a super narrow, but there are wider car seats out there. So pulling this out, and again, you do have a no rethread harness, sensible just like that. Now, when we're going to open her up, let's talk about them here. Forward facing. It's a different kind of seat. So you go forward facing, you're going to turn your seat sideways like this, flip the boot right there, and then you would have her basically ready to install forward facing. Now, I'm not going to do this on every single car seat. I'm just going to enforce this right now. Pay attention to your tether, okay? Your top tether is very, very, very important. It is one of the most important parts of forward-facing installation here. In Canada, it is the law to use these. In America, it is not the law, which is absolutely stupid. I think tether should be required. What a tether does is it is going to go, in this case, come here. There we go. Get you untwisted. It would go under the headrest, connect to a tether anchor point in your vehicle. Now, sometimes it can be on the back of the seat. Sometimes it's in the ceiling of your automobile. Sometimes it's in the floorboard. Just make sure it is not the cargo anchor point or like an attachment point. Cargo attachment points are not crash tested for what a tether hook attachment anchor has to be crash tested to deal with. So just make sure you're attaching it to the correct point. And what this does is help eliminate forward head excursion, which is the child's head moving forward out of the shell of the car seat. And with a tether, it can reduce that by 4 to 6 inches, which puts your child at less of a risk of hitting the automobile seat in front, hitting a window, or hitting another passenger. So please, 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 please always use your tether. That is my tether TED Talk. Again, I'm not going to tether every single one of these seats, but I will tell you when it's required and when it is not, specifically on the other rotating seats. Now, if we're installing this seat forward facing, you would want to adjust this all the way up. And I did measure highest harness height on these seats as well. You're welcome. On the Baby Jogger City Turn, this is 17 inches from like seated bottom to the highest slot for the shoulder harness. Now, why this is important is specifically in forward-facing installations. You have to remember, for your child to fit a car seat properly, there are the weight and height maximums. There is typically top of the shell, top of the ears is a one measure of physical fit when they would have to bump out of that stage. Harness height is also very important because, again, typically in a forward-facing seat, you want that harness at or slightly above your child's shoulders. So lengthwise, if they are a leggy child, not a real concern. If you have a kid that's very, very torso tall, heavy, this is going to come into play with that. Because if your child's shoulders go above that harness slot and you cannot adjust it higher, regardless of the weight or the height, your child is not fitting that seat properly, and you would need to go to a different harnessed car seat. Or sometimes after this, you could go to a high back booster. Just depends on your child. So when we would install this, you're going to take the harness apart, just like this. Let me loosen her up. And again, I'm not going to do all the mechanics of this, but just to show you how this operates, there's a little panel in here, this orange block. That is your lock off for your seatbelt. And some of you may be asking why I'm just showing seatbelt installations. I'm going to show you lower anchors on one of them. When I'm dealing with convertibles, I always teach seatbelt installation because your car seats have lower anchor. There are weight limits on the lower anchors in your vehicles. And usually, because there are a few exceptions, once the weight of your child and the weight of your car seat combined hit 65 pounds, you can no longer use lower anchors to install the car seat, and you would have to use a seatbelt. So this way, by learning to install with the seatbelt, I honestly would just install with a seatbelt. If your seat has good lock-offs and tensioning plates, install with a seatbelt. That way you don't have to freak out and try to remember what your lower anchor weight limits are for your seatbelt, the seat installation, even though they are on stickers here on the side. And this is, I want to say, is this the English side? Yes. So for rear facing, you cannot use lower anchors past 35 pounds. For forward facing, once your child hits 40, you need to switch to seatbelt. So I always just teach, for the most part, teach seatbelt install with convertible seats. Now, you have a really nice open belt path here for your seatbelt to go through. You basically clip it, tighten it, slam that down, and you've got a very, very solid lock off. I'm a big fan of this seat. Like I said, you do have this cup holder. And again, it is suitable from 4 to 50 pounds rear facing, 22 to 65 forward facing with the harness. It does not convert into a high bike booster. It has a 49-inch height limit on the seat. The infant insert, which I threw out because I was playing with it earlier, it's over there in a pile. The infant insert comes out at 15 pounds. Obviously, you would tether this in forward facing. It's a 28-pound seat, and it is 19 inches wide. So that is the City Turn by Baby Jogger. This and their infant seat, I think, are very overlooked car seats, to be completely honest. This one needs to get more love with the people. So there you go with this seat. I'm going to move. Oh, come here. Forgot I had the tether through there. What are we going to do next? Okay. Next is the Evenflo REO. Now, this seat is a little bit different. This is one I'm going to install using lower anchors. This is a revolving car seat. It will revolve rear facing and forward facing, but there's a few things about this seat. When you're looking at car seats, you kind of have to pick your battles, okay? So this seat is 4 to 40 pounds rear facing and 30 to 40 pounds forward facing. It's a 40-pound weight limit regardless, 43-inch height limit regardless, okay? They do have to be a minimum of two forward facing the seat, but a lot of people have been freaking out. So I have notes here on my phone so I can get this accurate regarding 40 pounds isn't enough, 43 inches isn't enough. Okay, great. If you find your child is growing, you might have to go from this seat forward facing to some kind of forward facing combination seat, like a harness to booster. That is not a big deal. That is also fairly common with other convertibles. But if we're looking at growth charts from the CDC, 40 pounds will cover 81% of 4-year-olds, 46% of 5-year-olds, 15% of 6-year-olds, okay? 43 inches will cover 95% of 4-year-olds, 53% of 5-year-olds, and 11% of 6-year-olds. So you still have like a good solid chunk of kids that this would be a good fit for. And again, if you find you need to go to a combination seat, that's not the end of the world. Now, what I think is nice about this seat, you can use lower anchors on the REO the entire time. Because of the weight of this seat, it is 22 pounds. You don't have to deal with lower anchor weight limits, which is excellent. Now, obviously, safety-wise, there's no difference between your seatbelt or your lower anchors. Some people feel safer with those lower anchor attachments. That also keeps you from having to remember like what the weight of your kid is and the weight of your thing, and like switching to a seatbelt. It is also quite a bit less expensive than other revolving seats on the market, and it is lightweight. This weighs about 22 pounds, which is a good, 6 to 10 pounds lighter than some other revolving seats on the market. So if you're concerned about that, this would be really nice. It could also be a really good fit for like a secondary car, like your grandparents or like a babysitter or something. It's a fairly sensible little seat. Now it does have your top tether. Again, you're going to use this top tether every time it's installed, rear facing or forward facing. I'm just going to get this kind of out of the way under here. And the rotation is one handle. It's a rotation like trigger here by the baby's feet, and this would just spin this way. Now, again, you could use a seat belt. I honestly don't know why you would unless you're putting it in a position where you cannot use lower anchors. If you're familiar with other Evenflo seats, it does have like a tension thing and you can lock the seat belt, makes a solid install. But like, let's have a moment here. Come here, bugger. On this seat, you do have, come here, what we call premium latch connectors, which have the red button. They look like a stapler. Don't flip these. Sometimes people will flip these upside down. They will not work if they're not installed correctly. So when you have this, it's going to be thicker part on top, skinny part on the bottom. You're going to connect them to the anchor points in your vehicle, the lower anchor points. Come here. Now, you have, it's like a one-sided adjustment. So all you're going to do, put your hand in the seat, pull that nice and tight. Obviously, you would do that after you make sure this is at the correct angle for your vehicle and the weight of your kid. But you can see like that's a rock solid install with lower anchors. Obviously connect that tether and get that tight enough, but then you would never have to worry about reinstalling this seat as long as they were obviously, within the height and weight limit of it, which again, 40 pounds, 43 inches. So really nice. This is easily adjustable. This is again 43 inches. The harness height at its highest is 16.5 inches for that shoulder height. It is about 17.6 inches wide. The infant insert for this, you take out, and it really just has to do with their fit. You use it until they don't need it anymore. It's not like a weight thing. And again, it's about 22 pounds. So very solid. In your, let me show you really quickly, in your rear facing mode, this is going to be, again, this is an estimate, about 32, 33 inches deep. So not that bad. And it's just a very easy thing. Again, price point is lower. It is lighter. And I just think this will help in terms of people who want a rotating seat and maybe can't afford one of the more expensive ones. This is going to be a solid option. And again, if your child was outgrowing it quicker than you wanted, once they hit that, you can just go into a combination seat. But this will be a very good seat for a lot of people. Where was my thing? Okay. Pull my the tether out. Undo these. And again, that was the Evenflo REO. It joins their line of revolving seats like the Slim, the Extend, the OG. So there you go with the REO. What are we doing next? Graco. Okay. So this is the Graco Easy Turn 360. We actually just did a video with them down at their office in Georgia. We were down in Atlanta for an event. This is a full 360 revolve. If you're familiar with their Turn to Me, which is only one that rotates in rear facing and that does convert into a high back booster. This does not convert into a high back booster. You can see there's no belt guide there, but it does have 4 to 40 pounds rear facing, 26.5 to 65 pounds forward facing, 49-inch height limit, and it has the 1 inch from the top of the head to the top of the adjustment handle in rear facing mode. Highest harness slot is going to be 16 inches ish. In terms of seat depth, when this is installed rear facing, 32. It's also pretty narrow for a revolving seat. This is 17 inches wide. And I always look at company stats, but then I measure myself. This is 17 inches wide. Now, does that mean you could like rotate it next to another car seat? Yes and no. It depends on what seat is next to it, the profile of it, all of that. There is no black and white answer. And then this is just under 26 pounds in total weight. Now, the install on this, you do not tether in rear facing, similar to the Chili Spin, which is after this. They only tether in forward facing installation. Why? That's just how they tested it, and they made the rules. That's what you do, is follow instructions. So if you look here, the rotation mechanism on this is a little bit different. There's a lever down here with like a little blue knob, and that is like a secondary safety release. So you're able to swing this around, put this into rear facing. And again, now that you can kind of see it, this is about, again, 32, 33 inches deep, based on what your vehicle seat is built like. Now, when it comes to installing this, again, I'm just going to do a seat belt. And again, I do apologize. It is pretty difficult to see. There are belt guides here and on the bottom for your lap belt and your shoulder belt. And then this is the like lock off arm. Now, you do have to lock the seat belt in Graco's instructions. They tell you to lock that seat belt for to lessen the strangulation risk. Obviously, with all seat belts and like rear facing and forward facing, if there's one next to you or a kid has access to a seat belt, you don't want them to be able to pull that seat belt out and potentially wrap it. So when you're having like empty seats next to you, just pay attention to like where those seat belts are next to your kid. And with this, you know, in theory, a child could possibly grab that seat belt and pull it this way. So they just want it locked for a strangulation risk. Now, this is one of those seats that I also think it is easier to install if you do the lap belt first and then pull the shoulder belt out, because you have to take the lap belt portion of this, come here. You also want to make sure you don't get the adjustment tail caught. You're going to put the lap belt under the guides, just like that. And then I would buckle that right there. And you want to make sure when you're doing this that the shoulder belt and the lap belt both go under this locking arm. So you're going to pull the slack out, pull that shoulder belt through, and there's a guide. There's two guides, but you only go under the one that's on the side where the retractor is. And then you basically just pull that, push that down, test if the belt path for movement, that is locked. Then come here. Come here. We're going to pretend I locked that retractor. Then you would just lock that retractor and you're good to go. And again, you don't have to deal with it. Now, when you switch to forward facing, you would need to uninstall this, pull that tether out, slide through here, attach that tether hook, and then just do this. But again, as you can see, that is a very, 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 very easy install. We're going to pretend here that I have that tether connected so that you can see what this looks like forward facing. You have pretty good, like I said, harness height. This goes up to 16 inches right here. And again, it is forward facing from 26.5 to 65 pounds with a harness. It does not turn into a high back booster. And it's just very easy. You've got two cup holders. If you need to adjust the recline mechanism is here on like the front of the seat. And one thing I've not really talked about yet, because is this, no, the Rio, it was there too, bless my heart. So if you look at this mechanism right here, this is what we would refer to as like an anti-rebound plate, similar to an anti-rebound bar, anti-rebound panel. And just to kind of go over what this does in a crash, if this was rear facing and your child was in a collision, from a collision, everything will go towards the point of impact and then go back. This is called rotation and rebound. It will rotate downward towards the point of impact and then rebound back into place, okay? This doesn't have like a load leg or a rear-facing tether, which really acts against that initial rotation. But by having a rebound panel like this or an anti-rebound bar, it's going to help lessen that rebound going backwards. And please remember, even if your car seats don't have these features, they are still safe. Thank you. So there you go with the Graco Easy Turn. Very, very solid seat. I find this mechanism back here very satisfying. You know, it does its job very, very well. Graco is known for snug lock. You know, they make a really, really nice lock off. Get you out of the way. And there we go again with the Easy Turn. Now, what is next, Jamie? We have the Joie Chili Spin SI. Now, if you come to our Babies and Bumps events this year, we have 3 left. We have Charlotte, we have DC, and we have Houston. This car seat will be there. You can see it. This is a variation on their Chili Spin 360. This is one that complies with the new side impact standards, FMVSS 213A. Those haven't been enacted yet. They're on the way. Jury's out. So there you go. But you're going to see on a lot of these seats that are compliant with 213A, different side impact protection pods here on the side. Now, that being said, most car seat companies have been doing their own side impact protection for their tests for years already. This does not mean you need to go out and buy new car seats. That the seats you have right now are not safe. Just make sure they haven't been in a crash and that they're not expired and you take care of them. Okay, thank you. So, Joie Chili Spin SI. This is suitable from 4 to 40 pounds rear facing, 30 to 65 forward facing. It does not turn into a high back booster. This infant insert would have to come out at 11 pounds. And there is also this really nice bolster here on the side. This has to be removed at 40. And this is just part of that new side impact compliance. In terms of all of these seats, this is the widest seat in this video. It is 19.7 inches wide, and it weighs about 28.5 pounds in rear facing, and I'll install it in a minute. It is just about 32 inches deep. And again, that is an estimate. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse saying that over and over, so just bear with me. In terms of the install, it is very similar to the Easy Turn 360. Honestly, you have 2 belt paths up here for the shoulder belt, 2 belt paths down here for the lap belt. It is very easy. You have this mechanism right here, the locking arm. Just to show y'all how this works. And again, make sure this is at the correct angle, adjust it if you need to. Bring the lap belt under the arm, come here. Come here. There we go. Under the arm, you're going to go under the lap belt path on the side, under the lap belt path here, come here. There we go. And then buckle that down. Now, where this is a hair different, this shoulder belt does not go under the lap belt guide here, but it does go under the arm, and it would go under the guide on the side towards the retractor. When you slam that, test at the belt path, you're good to go. You do not have to lock the seatbelt. Joie does not require you to lock the seatbelt on this seat. You do not use the tether in rear facing. Again, you only use the tether in forward facing. We're going to pretend that we have the tether attached. So just again, 4 to 40 pounds, rear facing, 30 to 65 forward facing. So this would be what it would look like in forward facing install, obviously again, with that tether attached. Very, very sensible. You can see there's no like exposed adjustment up here for the no rethread harness. It's actually behind the headrest. So just from an aesthetic point, some people might like that a little bit better because you don't have a big plastic handle right here. It's just here behind the headrest. Highest harness slot on this is 17 inches though. So that's 1 inch higher than like the Graco Easy Turn. So that could be a difference for some people. You do have these little slots here to help hold the harness out of the way. 2 cup holders. The labels on here are great. And what I will say is, like, I've read a whole lot of manuals. I read a lot of car seat manuals, as you can imagine. The Joie manuals are very well done. Like, they're very easy to read and understand. And as we know, a safer car seat is one that you use correctly and you can install correctly, and a more clearer and concise manual can help with that. So I just appreciate that. So very, very sensible. And then again, all of these little like inserts are fully labeled in terms of weight limits. And one thing I always tell people, because in our booth, you know, with Babies and Bumps, we have this seat and we have an Evenflo Revolve Extend, which I absolutely love. I don't really play favorites with revolving seats. But what I always tell people, they always want to know, like, which one of these would you choose? And I did not even think about this until probably just 3 months ago. Somebody brought this up to me. And if you are not a taller person and you're installing this in a taller vehicle, like a truck or something, you need to think about where the rotation mechanism is on your car seat. The Evenflo Revolve Extend and Slim in the OG, the handle is up here. Obviously on the REO, it's down here by the foot. If you're not the tallest, trying to grip up here might be difficult for you. So by having this lower, that will be a little bit more accessible for some people, which I can appreciate. I'm 6'2", that's never going to be a problem for me. But if you are shorter, putting this in a bigger vehicle, or even somebody who uses a mobility aid like a wheelchair, and you're going to be in a seated position while you're trying to, you know, use this for your child, having that mechanism right here, similar to the Graco Easy Turn, that might really come in handy for you. So just think about that. So there you go. This is the Chili Spin SI. It's an excellent seat. All 4 of these this is the last of our revolving seats. All 4 of these are very good seats for different people. I think they each fulfill a need. And I think all 4 of them are very solid. So we will take this one out, and then we'll play with a different seat all together, one that does not rotate. And that is going to be, come here, you get down. Car seat CrossFit. We have the Veni from Romer. On the road, we do have the infant seat, the Junie. This is the Veni. Obviously, I'm going to show you how this all installs. But just to give you all a sense of this, Romer has been in other countries for several years now. It is a sister company to Britax, if you're familiar with Britax, which you should be. So if you're familiar with like the DNA of Britax seats, click type technology, the safe cell technology, all of that is basically the same thing in here with a different name. But Romer, Britax has upped their fabrics over the years. Like now they have the safe wash and all this stuff. But Romer really kind of went for it and like elevated the finishings and fabrics. So the fabrics themselves are a mix of like recycled polyester and pulverized oyster shells. And I don't know whoever thought to like grind up a whole bunch of oyster shells and you can make a textile out of it. But it does get rid of a lot of that waste for oyster shells. And apparently there is a lot of that. And I had no idea because I don't eat them. But it is also moisture wicking. It helps regulate temperature. You can machine wash and dry this, which is also excellent. When we're talking about stats of the seat itself, this is rear facing from 5 to 50 pounds. This does have a 50-pound weight limit, just like the Baby Jogger City Turn, but obviously this does not rotate. And this goes from 22 to 65 pounds forward facing with a harness. It does not convert into a high back booster. This is what we just call a standard convertible car seat because it rear faces and forward faces. Now, height-wise, it is 49 inches. In terms of depth, if you have a small car, this is going to be a really good friend of yours. This is 30 inches deep. And for small back seats, this is excellent. If you are familiar with the Poplar from Britax, this is very similar. I'm not going to lie. It's a very similar seat, elevated, couple different things that are a little bit nicer, different fabrics, etc. So it is also 17 inches wide. So this is what we would call like 3 across friendly, but you can never guarantee 3 across with any 3 across friendly car seats in every vehicle. It all depends on what your car seats are, how they're puzzled together, what your vehicle is, all of that. So please know that. This infant insert, this all comes out at 20 pounds. You obviously only tether this forward facing, and it is 28 pounds because she has steel in her. It is wonderful. If you're familiar with the Britax Click Tight seat, this has basically the same thing. It's called Secure Lock. So what that does, just to give you a history of Click Tight, Click Tight came out about 11 years ago. It was in the Britax Frontier. That was the first seat that had it. They did this to kind of be proactive about these lower anchor weight limits, okay? So what Click Tight is it's basically this big metal panel that's in the seat right here. And based on the orientation of your seat, rear facing or forward facing, there's a belt path for both. You put the seatbelt through, buckle it. You barely have to pull any slack, and then you shut the panel. Not only does that pull the slack out of your seatbelt, but it also locks your seatbelt. You don't have to come back up here and lock it. So they had it in the Click Tight. They moved it into their convertibles. They moved it into their infant seats. So this is basically that same technology with a different name. I absolutely love Click Tight. I've loved it since day one. Click Tight makes for a very, very easy install, especially if you are buying one seat and having to move it between multiple vehicles or like give it to grandparents. I do think Click Tight for caregivers who may not be comfortable tightening seatbelt webbing and like dealing with all of that, this is going to be a lifesaver for them. And because this is so easy, their preferred method of install is just a seatbelt. Again, hearkening to why I teach people seatbelt installs with convertibles. You don't have to worry about lower anchor weight limits. Now, let me see here. We're going to install this rear facing first. And you can see this does have the anti-rebound bar right here. And it's wrapped in kind of a leatherette finish. So you would adjust the recline of the seat and also keep your adjustment tail kind of like out of the way. You want to make sure you don't buckle that up. Now, when it comes to this seat, this is one that I would line up. Come here. Bless this retractor. When you're installing, keep your seat belt, shoulder belt and lap belt kind of sandwiched together. It just helps a little bit. Now we're going to come through, come here, come through here, Again, make sure there's no twists and turns in your seatbelt webbing. And again, like I don't have to really pull at all. Slam that down. Very, very, very secure. And you can see the install just like that. Rock solid installation. Again, anti-rebound bar right there. I absolutely love a seat with click tight. And when you're undoing the click tight, you want to think of this as undoing a seatbelt on yourself. First, you undo the buckle, then you take yourself out. Undo the buckle first, then come under here, undo the click tight mechanism. Thank you. Now, we're going to come back over here. I'll just show you what this looks like. It is the same idea for forward-facing install, just a different belt path. You take the anti-rebound bar off for forward-facing install. That is not a forward-facing feature. You adjust this up. Again, pull your top tether. And, oh, hold on. So Britax and Romer, they have a tether that's shaped a little differently. So normally with your tether, it is the hook like a J hook and it's on one strap of that seatbelt webbing. Britax has what we call like a Versa tether or V-shaped tether. So it goes around the headrest and then will connect. And their testing, they find it stabilizes the seat a little differently. And then there's also, if you ever have a chance to look at it, there's like red stitching up here and a few different like layers of it. So as if, God forbid, if you were in a crash, moving forward, those stitches would rip out one by one and would slow down and help deal with crash forces in that forward head excursion. So that's just a feature they have. There are magnets here on the side to hold the harness out of the way. And just so y'all can see, the belt path for forward facing is right here. And if you know, like any of the older Britax seats with click tight, the belt paths to get the seatbelt in were way more narrow. These are so nice and open and accessible. I'm a giant fan of that. So that is it. And again, this is the Veni from Romer. It is 5 to 50 pounds in rear facing, 22 to 65 in forward facing. Again, just because it says it's a 22-pound minimum for rear facing, don't turn your child at 22 pounds. We want to max out those rear facing limits if possible. Okay. So again, this goes to 50 pounds. That's a good one. Infant insert will come out at 20. It's 17 inches wide. It's about 30 inches deep. So for smaller cars, this is going to be great. And it weighs about 28 pounds. Anti-rebound bar comes with it and 2 cup holders. I just don't have the cup holders on here for sake of the video, but they are great. Big fan of Romer. So that was a look at 5 seats. We had the Baby Jogger City Turn, the Evenflo REO, the Graco Easy Turn 360, the Joie Chili Spin SI, and the Veni from Romer. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Like and subscribe, etc. Turn on your notifications. I don't know how YouTube works yet. So we have a few more of these videos coming up. And then once the event series is over for the year, I plan on putting quite a few more videos up on this channel. So thank you for bearing with me as I get her up and running again. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you next time.